everybody. Thank you for being here. Welcome to my colleagues from all over the world. Welcome to Colombia. Hope you are having a good time here. We will have this press conference with 4 main speakers. I'm going to tell you about them while I'm presenting them. For now, I invite you to be here very ready to ask questions. We're going to have questions, time for questions after 30 minutes after their presentations. And I will let you know that we also have many colleagues from all over the world connected in streaming. I want to say hello to them and thank you. We will take questions from the audience who is here, and let's start. We have Dr. Phil Anglewicz. Okay?
Anglewicz.
Dr. Marta Royo, Dr. Samukeliso Dube, and Dr. Mena Abudabu. We will start with Dr. Phil Anglewicz. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. It's really just wonderful to be with all of you here now. This is such an exciting event, and I'm already starting to feel the energy. I hope you are too. So this event is just so exciting for the field. It brings together people from all over the world, all sectors, and I think it's this mixing of people across disciplines, backgrounds, geographic areas of origin, orientation to the field that makes this such a hugely valuable event. So we have this every 2 to 3 years. It's all over the world. This is the first iteration that we'll have in Latin South America, so we're all very excited to be here. However, I think it's important for us to recognize as a field that things have changed from where they used to be. That we're dealing with a new environment where there's been dramatic shifts in the way that we do work just in the past year. So, for example, if you look at overall support for our field and funding, it's declined, and in some geographies declined dramatically just in the last 6, 9 months or a year. We've also seen that USAID, the largest multilateral organization in our field, has been dismantled, which is still difficult for me to believe. And there's a growing anti-rights and pro-natalist movements that's designed to try to counteract and reverse some of the gains that we've made just in recent decades. So this is a new environment, and I think rather than shying away from it or ignoring it, I think we have to meet this head on and acknowledge it and make sure that we're mobilized as a field and strategized for this new reality that we're facing. So the way that we've designed the conference this year is with exactly this in mind. The sessions that we'll talk about focus on things like domestic resource mobilization, sustainable financing. We'll talk about patterns and strategies for the anti-rights and pro-natalist movement. Of course, going to be talking about the new research that we're doing in the field in topics like safe abortion and self-care and demographic futures, and of course, supply chains and commodities. And we're also trying to bring in new people into the field. I think in order to make sure that we have a vibrant and growing movement for the work that we do in family planning, reproductive health, and SRHR, we need to continue to focus on bringing in new people and indoctrinating them in the value of the work that we do. So we have sessions oriented towards how we can communicate effectively outside of the field. I don't need to convince anyone in this room about the value of family planning and reproductive health, but there's a range of ideologies that people have, and I think we can meet everyone at where they are and where they're coming from in explaining the value of the work that we do. And we're also just so thrilled to have our first conference in LAC region and the beautiful, vibrant country of Colombia. This is such a thrill for me. I've been able to come here 4 times in the past year, and each time I've learned something new about just the wonder of the country of Colombia, but also incredibly valuable and inspiring in terms of what Colombia and LAC more broadly has done recently for family planning, reproductive health, and SRHR. So we're thrilled to have this conference. Can't wait to talk with everyone here at the conference in the coming days. And I think we're also prepared to take on these challenges as a field, and I have no doubt that we'll succeed. So one final item I want to mention is what gives me hope, what makes me feel confident that we'll move forward as a field. But when we planned this conference, there was some uncertainty due to these large structural changes that we experienced. So we weren't exactly sure how many people were going to come, what our support was going to look like. But then we had various landmarks that gave us an indication of how we were doing. The first was submission of abstracts. And we saw that not only did we break the record of abstracts, the previous record was 3,200, we blew the doors off. We received 5,200 abstract submissions. We broke our record for the number of reviewers. We broke our record for sponsorships. And then looking at who's attending the conference, we have more than 3,500 people attending in person and thousands more that are watching us globally. So if I'm never worried about our ability to persevere and bounce back and meet challenges head on as a movement. I think we are perfectly equipped to do that and make sure that we can do our best for all the populations that we're representing here at ICFP. Thank you.
Dr. Anglewicz, what important is what you mentioned about even though we have challenges, we are able to break records. And it is inspiring. Thank you. Dr. Anglewicz, sorry I missed to tell you, is from William H. Gates Institute for Population and Reproductive Health, which is one of co-organizers of the ICFP 2025. Thank you. Now, Marta Royo, Executive Director of Profamilia, will provide an overview of Colombia's leadership. Colombia, Profamilia is celebrating 60 years in Colombia, which is very important for this country.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Phil, Dr. Samu, Dr. Meta, and to the audience. It's such an honor to be here, but more so to have all of you visiting Colombia under the ICFP conference. And as Claudia said, this year is our 60th anniversary. I think that the history of Colombia regarding sexual and reproductive health and rights has walked those 60 years very close to Profamilia. We have been part of all the advances, the progressive laws, the changes in the population statistics, access of women to contraceptives, but also access of women to abortion, quality care. So, way of celebrating, when we postulated Colombia to be the hosting country for the ICFP, we thought, what better way to celebrate what we have been able to achieve all these years? And not only Profamilia, but so many organizations that are here today. I'm very happy that we were selected, and we hope we won't disappoint you. Phil says this is not only a moment to celebrate, but it's also a moment to ask ourselves, what does the future look like? Such an important question, because we see the programs that we have developed in Colombia and the progress that we have made together with the government, together with the Constitutional Court, with civil society organizations, the academics, the scientific societies, all of them have added a little bit to all the progress that we have been able to make as a country. But we are facing a turning point. What better way to start thinking about the future than by all of us being here? I think that there is a moment, this is a moment also for, daring to ask the hardest questions, and also daring to find solutions that we have never thought before. I think that what we have witnessed is kind of like the end of an era, but that doesn't mean the end of what needs to be done globally in terms of sexual and reproductive health and rights. It's just that we ourselves also need to change the way we think, the way we are connecting with people, the way we are talking to young people. There are more than 600 young people attending this conference. And why is that so? Because the interest and the need is there. So I would like to invite all of you to not only profit and enjoy the conference, the panels, all these spaces, but at every moment that you share with others, start thinking, what next? What comes next? How can we continue fighting? How can we continue providing evidence, arguments? How can we better connect with the audiences so that we can continue doing what we are here to do?
Thank you, Marta. When you an applause for Profamilia. It's 60 years doing a very good job in Colombia. I cannot imagine how this country would be without Profamilia. We have any million, but not also that. But we have so many problems. But without Profamilia, maybe we would have that problems multiplied by, I don't know, 100. When Marta mentioned we are in an end of an era, say that I thought about that before this time, so of an era is like 50 years, but not. It's like 1 year, 2 years. Very, very short. Thank you, Marta, for bringing that. Now we're going to have Dr. Samukeliso Dube. She's the Executive Director of FP2030, bringing over 20 years of global health leadership to drive expanded access to voluntary family planning. Welcome, and please go ahead.
So much. Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everybody. As you know, I've been introduced. I lead a global partnership that is dedicated to advancing the rights of people everywhere when it comes to access to reproductive health services safely and on their own terms. We bring together in our partnership governments, civil society, funders, youth advocates, private sector, philanthropic organizations, and many people who want to be part of this movement. And where we are standing today, as Phil alluded to earlier, we are at the precipice of progress. Rollbacks. Progress as in, if you go to some of the booths that you see today, we will be launching the progress that has been made in family planning. Since FP2030 was launched as FP2020 in 2012, we now celebrate more than 100 million new users of modern contraception. And I think that's remarkable. That actually means that all of you who have been part of this global partnership have helped us to ensure that we could avert 128 million unintended pregnancies. That means 128,000 maternal deaths and 30 million unsafe abortions during that period. Colleagues and friends, there are now nearly 400 million users of modern contraception in low and modern and middle income countries. But we are saying we're at this precipice of rollbacks, and yet we are seeing progress. What is being rolled back? We have spoken about funding shrinking across the globe, and particularly for low and middle income countries, where 80% of donor government funding for family planning came from countries who have now announced significant cuts to their international aid budgets. So money is at risk. What else is at risk? We are seeing the rollback around science, but that is rollback also against global commons and rollback against rights. That is something that we need to be guarding against. We have just only begun witnessing the impacts of these cuts. FP2030, working with our partners, we are going to be discussing the impact of especially some of these funding cuts tomorrow, and I'm hoping that you are going to join us at 2 p.m. because funding from the United States alone accounted for 41% of the total annual family planning funding from 2020 to 2024. And this U.S. family planning funding has essentially been eliminated. You know the impact that can arise from that. We are also seeing a coordinated attack, as Phil alluded to earlier, on rights of women and girls who are seeking to actually get available for themselves these freedoms that are made available through family planning access. But you know, we have hope. I've got hope in young people. Hope because in this conference, you are showing up in numbers. With that hope, and hope multiplies, makes me wake up every day in the morning. I've got hope because youth advocates are leading the way, demanding a brighter future, and governments are making significant contributions to their domestic resources, even at home. This morning, UNFPA, together with William H. Gates Institute, we hosted over 30 countries who were discussing how they are going to be locked in ensuring sustainable funding for family planning. We are grateful for that because that was a show of force with our philanthropic partners on how we too could work together in this moment. These are the moments that I believe for all of you should matter, and I hope when you can also join us in our Wednesday plenary session where you will hear more from these government leaders as well as community voices about their commitments. Please put in your diary tomorrow when our data team will share more of the findings of our 2025 impact report where we are looking at progress and funding perils. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Samu Dube. You said impact. Yes, an applause for her, please. Thank you. You mentioned the word impact, and I think this is the main tool we have, showing results, showing data, taking decisions based on data, on science, to go beyond the ideologies. Thank you. Now, we have Dr. Mena Abujavu. Please let me know if I learn. On behalf of Center of Research in Human Reproduction and Demography and Rutgers, he will announce new data on unsafe abortions in West Central Africa. Please go ahead.
Merci beaucoup, Claudia. Je pense que nous sommes à...
I think that we are now here to share some history that is going to allow us to make decisions regarding research and regarding decision makers. I would like to share with you an experience on the land, specifically about a study that was performed. Before that we get into the main subject, I would like to remind you what led us to jump in this scientific adventure. You are journalists, you are actors, you are the one who make the decisions. When we talk about the stories of victims of sexual aggression, whether violation, harassment, I know that you have heard about, when a victim incesto, when there is a victim of incest, they want to interrupt the pregnancy because of the law does not allow it. So there are some blockages, there are some obstacles, and they come into a judicial and medical process that for them it is a test. In Africa, or in the Western Africa, they ask for some documentation, and each stage has to be signed. Every stage is a reason to abandon the care. Every delay for documentation, every delay means costs. And in general, what happens is that they lose their life. So I am here not only as a researcher, but also as a witness, as you and I, of reality, that we cannot ignore this reality in our region. The states should not stay with your crossed arms. There are different frames of legal issue. There are different tests that are reinforced, but access as such continues to be an obstacle, as in this sense that we manifest, that we certify, that we see losses of life of these women and these young women. So we wanted to understand this dynamic, and in this is of a study called The Labyrinth, where women are facing. This is a study of West Eastern and Central Africa, and we wanted to understand the distance or the gap between the judicial frame that they face. So, as I said before, the states can act, but in the test, this is an obstacle. We have identified one barrier: health professionals who are not properly informed or trained in terms of judicial frames, and we also have this administrative procedure that instead of protecting their lives or their rights, these are elements that distract. On the other hand, we understand that social stigma make family to stay silent regarding the situation. So every 9 seconds in our region, one woman suffers a not safe abortion every 9 seconds. I also think about a victim with which I remember Aisata, 17 years old. She was raped by her neighbor. So the law can demand to interrupt that pregnancy, but when she went to the hospital, nobody wanted to assume responsibility for her. So in the end, she had to access to medications, and in these cases, some of them use different sticks or different tools or different mandis sticks. So in this case, it's important that we find solutions. Aisata, that's her name, she lived that, and today she cannot have kids. This is a story that I share with you. It's a way to see our health system that usually doesn't have access for women. Our studies. So the idea is that these laws that already exist are efficient, that people are trained, that there is finances to have amplification. There's useless. Research is useless if we don't change the reality that we are describing. So to summarize in one sentence is that behind every collective data that we can share in this conference, do not forget there is a woman behind each data. There is a promise of a safe life and a proper life with dignity. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bujabu. This information, every story is heartbreaking and it's unacceptable, as we have not only in your country but also here, Marta. When I was listening at Dr. Bujabu, thinking we have similarities in Colombia because we already have the norms, the constitutional decisions, and many women face barriers to get access to an abortion in healthy ways. So this is the time for the questions from you. So I think we have time like for maybe 3 to 4 questions. Who want to ask first? Raise your hand. Be shy, take advantage of these important speakers here. Please go ahead. Someone is going to bring you a mic.
Hi, my name is Alice Aite. I'm from Ghana. From your presentations, clearly there's some progress. I mean, a lot of progress. We've made so much progress. She spoke about advancing the rights of people in accessing reproductive health and rights, and for them to do so in their own terms, which is spot on. But I want to find out, in all of the progress and all of the things that we are doing, how are we moving persons with disabilities along? Because from the few conversations and stuff that I've had with some people, it appears there's very little about persons with disabilities, especially people with hearing impairment. And communication gap or communication is a very huge problem. How do they access all of these wonderful services if people do not even understand them? They can't communicate what they actually want. Someone will go to a hospital seeking family planning methods, and then the doctor would rather give her medicine for stomach ache. How are we resolving that? Thank you.
Thank you. Is your question for a specific speaker or?
Any of them can answer.
Okay. Who wants to proceed? Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much for raising that issue. I think it's one that's critical. And one thing I forgot to mention when I was speaking earlier is that the theme of our conference is equity. And equity essentially means that we need to look across the field at any populations that might be left behind in being able to access family planning, reproductive health, and SRHR services. And I think disabled people are a perfect example of that, where there's not enough attention, there's not enough research, and there's not enough resources that are devoted to this population. I hope that better ways to address disabled people starts here at the conference, where we can learn more about A, what's the most important approaches that we need as a field to make sure that we're reaching out to disabled people and they can access it. And then B, like how can we mobilize resources to be able to create programs that directly address that and make sure that, again, no one is left behind and everyone has the chance to be able to fulfill their reproductive preferences, because I think that's what we all believe. Thank you.
Dr. Dube, you want to add something, and then Marta, or?
Thank you for that answer, Phil. So equity is at the center. Equity has made us redefine where do we start. And I now talk not just about the last mile, but the first mile is packaging your services for those who, in the previous iteration of our programs, have been hard to reach. So FP2030 is a secretariat to high-impact practices in family planning, which is called HIPS. Previously, we had USAID, we have SIF, we have Packard, we have WHO and other partners who are looking at evidence. And in there is a high-impact practice around how to program family planning so that you can ensure people with disabilities are part of your program. And I also would love for you to connect during this conference to somebody called Joshua from Pakistan, who actually has got guidelines, has launched how they are reaching people who are deaf in Pakistan and have got a best-in-class method of reaching those who are deaf with family planning services in Pakistan. So let's link up, and I can link you up with Joshua.
Thank you, Dr. Marta.
I would like to add that in our case, in Profamilia, around 6 years ago, we received some funding in order to develop what we now call a guide with reasonable adjustments. And what that guide allows to is for the doctors in their consultation rooms to, through a series of interviews and questions and answers, help that person with a disability to be able to make choices. And it has been an amazing experience because this guide was built with several of Colombian disability movements. It was not done by our professionals because that's usually the way things go. You know, we know better. No, in this case, it was built with them, designed with them. And what is really important also and amazing is that a very important part of the participants of the designing of the guide were young people who wanted to talk about sexuality, who wanted to talk about sexual reproductive health and rights. So it has been very helpful for the doctors, but I agree with you, still a huge tension when it comes to the resources that are needed in order for, we have 52 clinics. We provide around 5 million services, and every year we try to improve and bring new aids in order to make sure that them are provided taking into account that we do have people with disabilities, but there's always a tension between the resources, the need, and what at the end we're able to do. But it has been an amazing start to have that guide with us.
Thank you. Do we have any other question? Here. Go ahead, please. Let us know your name and where are you coming from.
Ok, bonsoir à tous.
Buenas tardes. Hello. I am so happy about being here. I am discovering a beautiful city and I'm learning a lot. My question is for you, Doctor. I am Annie Joan. I'm coming from Costa de Marfil and I am working for the radio that is called a radio generation, that is a radio on sustainable development, and also working for Africanos. This is a Pan-African association. You remarked, in your remarks you highlighted that the African government of the center and the West have contributed in a very important manner to protect women so they can favor the correct access to health regarding the legal frameworks. However, he also mentioned the weakness of how these laws are not strong enough on the field. Don't you think that the responsibility of the state should be also extended? They should go beyond the use of documents, but also they can ensure the proper, the correct follow-up so they can analyze and measure the true impact? Thank you very much.
Merci.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. We fully agree with you. Once we understood about all these stages of the studies of the research, their existing frameworks are very progressive. Some of them are restrictive. It is a need for these states to agree upon things, and the recommendations should be simplifying these procedures. If actually the state should extend their actions to facilitate the access, so these women can actually access to these services. First of all, the state should make everything that is possible to simplify the administrative processes so women can actually access to abort. I'm going to stop here, and I hope I was able to answer your question. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Hola a todos y todas. Muchas gracias por esa conversación. Soy Ana, soy de Ucrania, periodista independiente. Tengo una pregunta para ti.
Most likely to Marta Royo. I know that in Colombia, as well as in many other places across the world, there are territories in the country that are not reachable by the formal government or the official government. I am curious if you have any stories, success stories or failure stories, how to work in territories that are disputed, how to reach them, if you've had that experience. And this question is open to everybody as well. If you know of such stories or experiences of working in fragile, conflicted settings or disputed territories. Thank you.
Go ahead. That goes right to the heart of that question, because it is true. You know, all of us are here in Bogotá, and I hope that you're all enjoying, but this is not all of Colombia. Absolutely right. We are one of those countries that I believe, in terms of number, had the highest internal displacement movement in the past 50 years, and that's mainly due to violence in several territories, which is due to political, ideological, but also to the drug trafficking business. And what we have found out is that, and that's part of the reason why Profamilia is so well known in Colombia, because what we have been able to achieve is to be kind of protected by the population. You know, we are one of those very, very few organizations in Colombia, even though we're not public, that can still go to those territories, to the Catatumbo. We have just come back from the Catatumbo, where there is a huge conflict going on right now. And because the population really cares about us, they are the ones that not only invite us into the territory, but they kind of protect us. And I have to say that at the end, we have been able to achieve that also because we have managed, it hasn't been easy because what we do is very political, but we have managed to not being a political organization. Every single government in Colombia, to the left, to the right, to the center, has worked all over these 60 years because they know that what we do and the way we do it has made a difference on the population. So, but again, I have to say that there has been some occasions on which we have just not been able to enter the territory, but we patiently wait. We have also a lot of contacts in all type of levels. You know, I'm part of a group in which we were working with ex-guerrilla women. So at the end, Profamilia is an organization that is there for everyone. And that's the way that we have been able to go into the territories. And sometimes when we haven't been able, what we do is wait until things, you know, settle down a little bit and then go again. What we have never done in 60 years is stop going everywhere in Colombia. Never. It hasn't been one single year where you haven't seen a mobile brigade from Profamilia or people from the clinics visiting the countryside, even conflicted areas.
I want to add something, Marta, because I'm from here and I consider this question very accurate for our situation. It's my own story. I came from a small city called Palmira. I'm 48 years old, and when I was born, of course, it was a smaller city than today. And when my mom needed something, the first thing we thought, because we didn't have the health service that rich people had, the first thing we thought was, let's go to Profamilia. And this is I can say without any, I can say without making sure I'm not saying something wrong. Many families think in Profamilia first when they need health service to women. And the service she received was very, very good at that time. And it has improved every year and every year and every year. So that's why people from Colombia take care of Profamilia in every corner. Of course, we have always people who oppose, but as in any corner of the world. Any other question?
Hello, I'm Robin Marsh from the University of California in Berkeley. This might be more for Dr. Phil. You were mentioning how, as an organizer of this conference and maybe future conferences, you want to reach out to people with different points of view and have maybe even a bigger tent. And I was wondering whether we could include more economic voices, so empower women maybe to be able to their own contraceptive as maybe the last choice, but a choice that may be the only one for her. And I feel like we're missing a little bit this economic component in this particular conference. Economic empowerment, livelihoods, and perhaps next conference we can invite people from the agricultural sector or from the trade sector and really promote more integrated ideas around this. So that would be my question.
Love that question. So one of the ways that we're trying to reach out and expand as a field is by expanding what we know about why when you invest in family planning, you get benefits and dividends in other areas. So we have a series of papers that were reviewed by reviewers for this conference that won the award that we're calling the Power of FP, the Power of Family Planning. And these were papers that did the best job in either policy programs or just pure research on exemplifying why when you invest in family planning, you get benefits in a whole range of other outcomes. And one of those categories of outcomes is overall economic growth for the country, as well as women's economic empowerment and women's labor force participation. So I agree, this is not an area of research that is hugely explored. I think there's much more work that needs to be done. I think one of the efforts we're making to try to expand our impact as a field and our scope as a field is by recognizing this as one of the new important areas that we need to demonstrate and kind of exploit as a future category of evidence about why you want to invest in family planning. And this is, I think, how we bring more people into the work that we do, is by, if people aren't convinced by some argument, maybe they're convinced by another. So we focus on things like, of course, maternal and child health. We focus on economic growth, and we also can focus on climate change and even broader topics than that as well. So I completely agree that this is an area that we need to move forward with more fully in the future, but we're doing, I think, a good job to start with this conference. Thanks.
Dr. want to add something?
Thank you. I just wanted to add, if you look at your lineage, you will see something, it's written made possible. Can you see there? It's written made possible. So FP2030, working with all our partners, we have recasted, actually, in addition to what Phil is saying, the possibilities that are made, available when you invest in family planning. So we are looking at how do we get outside our own echo chamber and get people in sectors that are different from where we have been. And if you want more information, I think I do have my chief impact stylists at the back. Maybe if they can raise their hands there, you can see them, and then you can learn more about this made possible. What is it about and what are we trying to achieve?
Thank you very much. I think we are running out of time. Okay. I'm sorry, we don't have time for more questions. Okay, our invitation is take advantage of every minute during these 4 days. On this stage, we will have more than 200 presentations from today to 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., I think, and tomorrow the same, and the day after tomorrow until Thursday. And on the next floor, you have the posters from many people who registered to present their cases, their experiences, their projects, so you can get expertise from there too, from them. And of course, on 5th floor, we will have these three main stages with many roundtables, discussions, conferences. So you have a lot of people here, a lot of experts who can answer your questions, and people who will let you create the stories the world needs to hear from you to advance in what we share, which is equality for all, access to health and access to reproductive rights for every people across the world. So thank you for being here. Please give an applause to our speakers. Be prepared for the opening ceremony. Oh my God. Thank you.